Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to another Chamber Check-In episode from Idaho's only five-star accredited chamber. Hey, today I get to talk with some principals from Hummel Architects and celebrate 130 years in business from their humble beginnings in the late 1800s to current. You'll recognize many of their projects over the years, and I'm going to bring them on stage right now. I got Rob Busan with us. Hi, Rob.
Hey, Paul, thanks.
And I'm going to bring Brian Riopel on. Hey, Brian.
How's it going, Paul? Thanks for having us today.
No, absolutely. Hey, thanks for carving out some time, and we'll have some fun talking about the history, some of the projects that Hummel's been a part of. But first, let's start with you both. I love to learn about the people, so I'm going to rearrange the screen here a little bit, and let's start with you, Rob. Tell us a little bit about your background and history of work that led you into architecture, and then what ultimately had you land with Hummel.
Great, yeah. So I'm a principal here at Hummel Architects. I also act as the director of design, which basically means I work with our team, clients, stakeholders to help establish an illustrative vision for their projects. I've been working here at Hummel for 13 years. I've dabbled in project management and work a lot on the marketing front. But really, even from the beginning, I've sort of found my path in the conceptualization and design of our projects. On occasion, my 5-year-old daughter and I get to come home covered in marker and compare our doodles. You know, and those are the really, really good days. Not everyone, but there's enough of them. Also a native Idahoan. Born in Coeur d'Alene, where I spent my formative years. After high school graduation, went down to University of Idaho. Go Vandals! Great job in the tournament this week. And then also went to undergrad and grad school at University of Idaho, where I met my wife Robin. Shortly after grad school, was looking around for a position. It wasn't the best of economic times, I guess. So I was looking hard. Came across the position here in Boise with Hummel and went for it, and hasn't been half bad. So I've been sticking around for those 13 years. Some of the notable projects I've worked on and have led the design of in the area here include St. Luke's Cosm on 27th Street, St. Luke's downtown, their first phase, as well as Children's Pavilion with the giant bear and other animals adorning it. Treasure Valley Community College's Nursing and Allied Health Professions Center, as well as the recent College of Western Idaho's Boise Center, downtown in the West End. Also have a couple mixed-use projects in the core downtown and a couple smaller infill projects in the North End that I'm really looking forward to spending some time at.
That's awesome, Rob. Thanks for sharing a little bit about your background. Yeah, congratulations on your Vandals, both men and women, for the sweep. I think that was pretty cool. Brian, tell us a little bit about your background and history of work that led you to Hummel.
Yeah, so I joined the firm in fall of 2016. I'm originally from New England. I grew up about 25 miles north of Boston. I earned my Master of Architecture degree from Norwich University in Northfield, Vermont, and that's where I met my wife. We started our careers in Vermont, and we're looking for some more open space to go and enjoy and recreate and to have some more economic opportunity. So we ended up moving to Boise, sight unseen, in March of 2015. Since we got here, we put down some pretty deep roots. We welcomed our first daughter, Adeline, in 2018, and right at the beginning of COVID, our second daughter, Lydia, in 2020. So at Hummel, I work to bring complex healthcare, higher education, and public projects to life across the Northwest, including federal work with the U.S. Department of Energy in Idaho and beyond. My focus has been on finding practical and innovative design solutions for our clients, help guiding teams, and mentoring future leaders in our firm. Some of my notable projects I've worked hand in hand with Rob on the St. Luke's Children's Pavilion. Was project manager for St. Luke's McCall Hospital expansion up in McCall, Boise State's campus, the Micron Center for Materials Research, and Syringa Hall, their new 452-bed first-year student residence hall. And then across the state, also worked with the Department of Labor for their new Twin Falls expansion for a new regional office, as well as Idaho Fish and Game's Pocatello regional office, which is about to break ground later this month.
Thanks for bringing us up to date, Brian. Great story, and I'm glad you're in Idaho. I love the St. Luke's building with the Children's Hospital. There's some really cool things that happen with that space, and helping people feel comfortable in those spaces when it's not so comfortable to be there, I think is important. So good job with that effort. Let's talk a little bit about, since we're celebrating 130 years, let's talk about the origin story. And maybe we'll start with you, Brian. Tell us a little bit about some of the kind of the About Us original origin story, and maybe some of those first few projects, if you could share.
Yeah, our story really begins in 1890 when John Tortolet moved to Boise from Connecticut and opened a practice that he called contracting architect. What that basically meant was he was both designing and building projects. A few years later, in 1895, he was joined by Charles Hummel, who was a German-born architect. The first project credited to the partnership of Tortolet and Hummel was the Lincoln School, completed in 1896 at the corner of 4th and Idaho. Unfortunately, that building is no longer standing today. It's an active construction site as we speak. But one of the most recognizable projects from those early years is the Idaho State Capitol building. Construction began in 1905 and continued all the way until 1920, and they didn't complete the primary drawings until 1912. It's a building that's still central to Idaho's identity today. What's kind of fun is that the Capitol's 100-year completion anniversary coincided with our 125-year anniversary as a company. During that early era, the firm also designed a number of other important buildings around the state, including the University of Idaho's administration building up in Moscow and St. Peter's Cathedral here in downtown Boise. In 1913, Tortolet moved to Portland to continue practicing there, and Charles Hummel stayed in Boise. Around that time, Charles' two sons, Frederick, Fritz by how he was known by his friends and family, and Frank joined the firm after studying architecture at the University of Pennsylvania. In 1922, the original partnership had dissolved, and the firm essentially split into two offices. Tortolet and Frank practiced in Portland, and Charles and Fritz led the Boise practice. The Portland practice did not survive the Great Depression, and so Frank rejoined his father and brother in Boise in the early 1930s. Some of the most well-known projects from that period include the Egyptian Theater, which is attributed to Fritz, and the Hotel Boise, now known as the Hoff Building, which was designed by his brother Frank, as well as the Gem County Courthouse and Boise Junior College Administration Building, which today is part of Boise State University. The founding Charles passed away in 1939, but his sons continued the work. The firm paused during World War II and then reorganized in 1945 as Hummel & Jones. In 1953, Frederick's son, also named Charles, joined the firm full-time. He had served both in World War II and later in the Corps of Engineers in the Korean War after earning his architecture degree. After Frank Hummel passed away in 1961, Charles Hummel, Fritz's son, joined the partnership with Chet Shaver to form the new Hummel, Jones, and Shaver. Charles is best known for some of Boise's most iconic landmarks, including the U.S. Courthouse in Boise, Boise State University's Albertsons Library and Student Union, as well as the Joe R. Williams Building, which is directly to the north of the State Capitol Building. The JRW building is affectionately known as the Hall of Mirrors, as it's known to frame his grandfather's design of the Idaho State Capitol Building, which is pretty incredible. The firm went through several name changes over the next 3 days as new partners joined the leadership, as was common practice in most of professional service firms. Then in 1995, the partners made the decision to simplify the name to Hummel Architects, which is the name we still use today. Charles retired from practice in 2004, and his retirement really marked the end of an era. From 1922 all the way until 2002, the firm had been led by 3 successive generations of the Hummel family, which is a pretty remarkable legacy. At that point, leadership of the firm officially transitioned to the next group of partners, including Scott Strubar, Ed Daniels, and Greg Allen. Greg retired in 2017, which marked our next important transition point for the firm. In 2021, Zach Lester, Brian Coleman, Gwen Andrews, Rob, and I joined Mandy Bone, who had been a longtime associate with the firm, as associates. In 2023, Zach and Mandy were elevated to principals, and in 2024, Rob, Brian Coleman, and I were elevated to principals as well. Scott and Ed are partners with the firm and remain very active to this day. So for the last 130 or so years, the Hummel name has really stood for design quality, innovation, and integrity. Today, Rob and I are part of the 5th generation of owners, and we're proud to be carrying that legacy forward.
Wow, Brian, well done, sir. That's a lot of history in a couple of minutes, buddy. And I love in your office how you've got this lineage of photos and that timeline. Is that still on your office in there? If anybody has an opportunity to come into the office and just sit back, sit in a comfy chair, and just follow along with that timeline, it really brings to life all of these projects that Brian was talking about. Rob, let's hand it over to you for a minute. I want to talk to you about kind of maybe some of the current projects that we're familiar with, and maybe if you wanted to add anything that Brian had mentioned on the origin and history.
Yeah, maybe circling back to some of our historic works. Brian touched on several of those. A lot of the really big ones, right? I've kind of worked up a little bit of supplemental list, sort of by decade, and kind of filling in a few of those gaps. And there's countless projects over this 130 years. I mentioned I was a Vandal earlier. When I first came to the firm after graduation, I did kind of a research booklet, and I think we had over 130 projects on U of I's campus alone. So obviously not all there, right? But just to give a little bit of insight into the depth of work. So, of course, there's the state capitol, right? That's always kind of our go-to in introductions. That's what what we hang our hat on, and it's a good place to do that, I guess. Also, Boise High, which was mentioned, St. John's Cathedral, University of Idaho's administration buildings, the Elks Building downtown, the Oahe Hotel, which we frequent with our office location here. All in the 1900s, in the early 1900s. In the 20s and 30s, there's Egyptian Theater, of course, Hotel Boise, or today the Hoff Building, the original Boise Art Museum, the First National Bank, or U.S. Bank building today, as well as the remodel to the Empire Building, which is where Brian and I are sitting right now. Every once in a while, try and exit through the bank just to get a peek at some of those spaces in there. Get a little bit of a look now and then, but it's certainly a nice way to leave the office. Towards the middle part of the century, there's Boise State's administration building, or what's now known as Boise State. And then a little later, Boise State's library. Around the same time, there's the University of Idaho's education building, as well as the art architecture building, which I and several colleagues got a chance to know intimately. Moving into the 80s and 90s, we did several projects in downtown Boise to help encourage redevelopment, looking at the Capitol Terrace, Boise Center on the Grove, and the Grove Plaza, as well as streetscape improvements kind of throughout that core. Really setting way for progress down there, or down here. In the 2000s, we had Stevens Performing Arts Center for Idaho State University and worked with Boise State to create a living learning community. The 2010s brought Renaissance High School and ISU Meridian, which is an adaptive reuse project before it was a buzzword. They occupied an old Jabil chip manufacturing facility that was vacated. As well as St. Luke's Magic Valley, Boise State's College of Business and Economics. Most recently, we continue work with some of our great institutional clients, St. Luke's Children's Pavilion and major downtown projects, Idaho Fine Arts Academy, Boise Fire Stations 9 and 5, as well as the Micron Center for Materials Research at Boise State. Also, with all that history, we up until recently, we had all of those, maybe not all of them, but a large amount of those drawings in our vault in our old office. We did recently donate those to the Idaho State Archive, to help ensure that these buildings and the drawings that made them can be preserved and accessible for future generations of architects and historians. Kind of fast forwarding and looking towards, I guess not fast forwarding, but looking towards some of our more contemporary buildings and sort of how we look to continue the legacy that our leaders or previous leaders set forth, working on buildings that are meaningful to the community, help impact the community in a positive way. With the growth happening in our community in the Treasure Valley today, there's a lot of issues that we're confronted with. How do we keep the public safe? How do we keep everyone healthy? How do we house everyone? And keeping that higher education going as well, so we can fill those positions and help do all those things. Down in mind, healthcare being one of our major sectors, we're lucky enough to work with some really great clients. The downtown St. Luke's project is a true landmark project, not only due to its scale and immense complexity, because it will act as a regional healthcare hub, providing services to the valley's growing population and allowing those in need of healthcare services to stay in the place where they have chosen to live. With all that growth in the region, there's a number of cranes dotting the skyline. We can lay claim to a few of those, but I believe it's safe to say our favorite may be Chicka Boom Boom, as named by Little Luke's, the Little Luke's kids, which is a 249-foot or 14 giraffe tall crane currently in the St. Luke's campus. Looking at another sort of scale of healthcare and different scale, we've got our Desert Sage project in Mountain Home, which is helping to bring healthcare to that rural community in need. That project acts as a one-stop shop, sort of providing clinics, dentistry, behavioral health, and pharmacy, as well as far as we know, the first drive-through clinic in the region.
Oh, wow.
Also, workforce development is another issue that we're being confronted with as population continues to grow. We've got a couple of projects under construction that we really think are helping to shape the community's future, not only in architectural form, but also in the learning environments that are created to prepare students for the workforce. College of Western Idaho is a great example of this. As an institution, they've been super successful in bringing education to a diverse range of students. The new Boise facility, which we're thrilled to be a part of, will be just over 100,000 square feet and will help anchor CWI's presence in Boise and continue to bring those learning opportunities to the community. Also, from an urban planning perspective, I'm really intrigued by that sort of catalytic and large-scale project, bringing that diverse group of people to Boise's West End and how that can help fuel development in the area. Another project that we've got in the works that's addressing some of that workforce development is Treasure Valley Community College's Nursing and Allied Health Professional Center, which is a mouthful in itself. That's a 30,000 square foot facility that will allow for the college to increase its healthcare programs, some of them up to 50%.
Wow.
It allows that accessible education, helps train professionals that are going to keep us all healthy as the valley continues to grow. Also, with that growth, we need facilities to help support the population and keep our community safe. We're working with Canyon County on a new sheriff's office to help consolidate operations and increase efficiencies to help facilitate for that growth as the county continues to expand. And then another fun one, a little closer to home here, right in the heart of downtown Boise, we recently completed Boise Station 5, which is the busiest station in Boise, serves a huge range of different structures types, right, from single family all the way down to some of these great new high-rise buildings that are surrounding us right now. The station was designed with thoughtful consideration for context, right near the connector in the skate park, and also considering how we also functioning as a great new modern fire station, but looking at how we can create this home away from home for those people that are working hard to protect all of us. And then housing in general and student housing, another thing we're looking towards, and I'm going to kick it over to Brian for a couple notes on some of our projects that we're working on that front.
As you know, Rob and Paul, Boise State University has been one of our long-standing clients, and just this fall we opened up Syringa Hall, which is a brand new 452 bed first year student residence community, which is tucked right on the right next to the Centennial Amphitheater, between the amphitheater and Albertson's library, right up against the Greenbelt. And it did open for students on time this fall. It's pretty incredible how much demand there is in the Valley here for housing in general. And we know one of the challenges that Boise State is facing is students are turning down the opportunity to come and learn in our beautiful city because they don't have an affordable place to live. So this is just starting to scratch the surface, but it's been really successful. It's right in the heart of campus, adjacent to the Greenbelt, and it's right at the nexus of a couple different campus precincts with housing and academic and athletics as well. The design really responds to the natural flow through the site. So it was an old parking lot, and there were cow passes. Students would just meander through, and the design has been really responsive to that and acknowledging that it needed to still be pretty porous at the end of the day. So we know it's just a start, but we really think that's going to help to start alleviate some of the pressures felt by the local community as we're trying to remove some of those first-year students from the housing crunch that we already have here in the Valley.
I think it's really important to mention that's a lot, fellas, over 130 years and currently. So maybe we cut to your team here really quick. And I know this wasn't on our list to talk about, but what I'm hearing you say is that Hummel's been around for a long time. It's been part of some of the most prestigious buildings for all industries, municipalities to healthcare. And I've got to know, how many employees does Hummel have now?
We have 32 employees in the office here.
Wow.
And we're almost, I have to give a huge shout out to Mandy Bohm, our first woman principal at the firm. And we are about 50-50, a little more than 50% women versus men in the office now. And that's a really big trend we're seeing in our industry across the board. Historically, it was a male-dominated profession, and now women are outpacing those both in school and on the career track, which is a very exciting development for us as an industry.
Absolutely. Rob, is there anybody that on your team you want to shout out while we have you?
Oh man, I don't know. I guess everyone, right? In general, Brian for doing this with me here. Maybe he should be doing that to me for filling in last minute, but that's all right. No, but in all seriousness, I guess Scott and Ed, kind of our partners here. I mentioned I've been kind of working on the design and conceptualization and marketing stuff sort of through my career here, and that was working directly with those guys. Others, of course, too, right? But they've been kind of the through line, and seeing sort of how the job gets done, right? Not just in the detailing and the execution, but kind of working out there in the community, talking to people. That was a really, really crucial piece of education for me, and I'm super grateful that they sort of enabled that or allowed me to do so. And I guess also, but in seriousness as well, thank you, Brian, and my other partners, right, for putting up with myself, for all of us being collaborative and communicative. I mentioned I'm on the front end a lot, so I bug these guys with different ideas and trying to push this, that, or the other. And we all, thankful for our communication and kind of that resourcefulness that we all share together.
I've been with the company now for almost 10 years, and I can say unequivocally, I think we've got the best group of people working in our firm, and it's exciting to come in every day. And can't name everybody on this call, but just really wanted to give everyone a big kudos and a shout out because it's exciting to come into work every day. It's always something new, exciting, and challenging that we get to tackle as a team.
Well, Hummel Architects has been a chamber member. Let me just look it up really quick, so I don't know exactly. But I'll be able to find out. It has been a member for a very, very long time, fellas. 1957 is what I'm showing here. And so kudos to your community contributions. I don't know, in the last couple minutes here, I just want people to know that they're not only building cool stuff and thinking about everything, right? How people move, how vehicles move, how buildings can stand the tests of time, and pay homage to the past while thinking about the future, right? All that stuff to think about. But on top of all of that, Hummel is a community steward. So maybe just tell a few things how you and your team are impacting the community you serve.
Rob, do you want to start or do you want me to start? Uh-oh, I went big, so I guess it's on me. One of the big things we do every year is, as a team, go out and help out with Rake Up Boise. You know, that's such a meaningful thing for us, making sure we're giving back to our local community, as well as just being good stewards of design and looking out for the public's best interest. I think it's one of the core pillars of Hummel. We have always done large institutional public-facing projects throughout our entire history. The vast majority of our projects are for the public sector or not-for-profit clients. And that's a really important legacy that we're trying to bring forward. There have always been private commissions. I'm sure some of the listeners today are living in a Hummel designed home in the North End or over in Fruitland or dotted around the Pacific Northwest here. But it's really been about being good public stewards of taxpayer dollars and delivering a lot of value to end users of our facilities, whether it's K-12 or higher education or our government clients. We really take a lot of pride in giving back and making sure that our clients can live in our buildings for 100+ years, which is a testament to how well they've been able to operate in them to this day.
Rob?
Yeah, and to piggyback on that, actively involved in several groups around the community, ACE mentorship program, as well as the Women in AEC as well. A lot of our work with a lot of our partners kind of on the philanthropic endeavors. We're currently working with Camp Rainbow Gold, which is very, very exciting on a project for them. Just an awesome mission, of course, there. We do a lot of that, sort of supporting our our clients in their endeavors for philanthropy and start trying to echo their missions and contribute to their goals.
Awesome, guys. Hey, I want to thank you both again for carving out some time. Shout out to Crystal, who made all this happen, put you guys on stage. Thank you, Crystal. Also, shout out to Scott and Ed for all the work that they do to bring real good, credible people on the team, and appreciate your membership to the Chamber. It means a lot.
Great. Thank you so much, Paul. We appreciate the opportunity, and thanks again.
You bet.
Thanks.
You bet. You guys have a great weekend. For those that are listening, remember to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel, and stay tuned next week as we feature a refurbished office furniture company called New Life Office. Thanks, you guys.